fuck COVID-19.
Because, obviously, right? Generally, a global pandemic is considered to not be a good thing. A lot of people have been affected by the virus. Obviously, barring the fact that all of society just kind of stopped for a bit. But I mean, a lot of people have gotten COVID. A lot of people have had someone close to them get COVID. And a lot of people have been, I don't really know what term to use, damaged, I guess. I'm not sure. But, COVID has had long-lasting effects on their health. And a lot of people have also died from COVID, which is obviously terrible, right? So that's why I think it's apt to say, fuck COVID-19. I don't really think anyone would disagree with that statement. So it's clearly been garbage, right? Not good. This is actually very well known. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about how COVID has personally affected my life. I've been very lucky to not get COVID. A few people kind of close to me have gotten COVID, but they're all in my age range, so it didn't really have a big effect on them. So in terms of myself or people around me getting very, very sick from COVID, that hasn't really happened, which, I mean, no complaints from me, right? But an extremely noticeable way that COVID has affected my life is in school. So as you might have inferred by reading the title of this video, I have just recently finished my junior year of high school. I don't know if I have any viewers from other countries. I don't even know how to check that, to be honest. But in case anyone is unaware, your junior year of high school is 11th grade, so your second to last year of high school. And I just finished that year, and looking back on the year, it is pretty safe to say that COVID completely fucking ruined my junior year of high school. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. I don't know if this is the mindset in other parts of the world or even other parts of the United States, but I've heard that your junior year of high school is generally considered to be your hardest year of high school, which might sound kind of confusing at first because you'd expect your last year of high school to be the most difficult. But I think the reason it's not your senior year, which is your last year, again, just in case anyone is unaware, I think the reason it's not your senior year is because it's expected that you already did all the difficult stuff your junior year, so then your senior year you can just kind of coast, right? But I mean, what makes your junior year so difficult? What kind of stuff do you have to deal with that makes it your hardest year of high school? Well, funny you should ask. Chances are you're likely to be in more advanced classes, like AP classes or others. Chances also are that you'll probably have some extracurriculars to balance with those more advanced classes. It's also expected that you start looking at colleges around this time. ACT or SAT tests, AP tests, a lot of fun. So not only would I have to deal with this laundry list of items during a normal year, but I get to do it during a global pandemic. A real treat. I'll be honest, I'm not completely sure how to organize this video, because I want to go sort of in depth and actually explain things, so this video isn't a complete mess. But I also don't want it to be 4 hours long. So I think I'll just jump into the academics and just see where that takes us. So this past year I was in 3 AP classes, and that is a very sharp increase from my sophomore year when I was in 0. So I expected an increased workload because, they're more advanced classes, so that just makes sense. It all adds up, right? And yeah, I mean, my workload did increase a decent amount, but it was definitely still manageable. And I think that's because a lot of my teachers did a pretty good job with sympathizing with our situation. And a lot of my teachers did their best to sort of trim the fat and either reduce or just completely get rid of busy work. Only give us assignments that like have a purpose. So either for us to learn something or to reinforce something that we've already learned. And really just doing the stuff that's like important, okay? So you might have noticed that I said a lot of my teachers, or most. I'm not gonna lie, I already forgot. But yeah, most of my teachers did a pretty good job like reducing the total workload. The reason I didn't say all of my teachers is because I did have one teacher who barely scaled back at all. And that one class took up the vast majority of my time spent academically. And it was the dumbest shit ever because it was my one class that was not an AP class. So like, on paper, that one was supposed to be the easiest. But because of my dumbass teacher, it ended up being the most difficult and the most time-consuming class that I was in by a lot, okay? And I wasn't the only person struggling in this class. Because obviously, since, you didn't fucking reduce the workload at all, it's kind of a struggle to stay on top of the due dates because I don't know if you noticed, but, there was a pandemic going on. But like, dude, I talked to so many people and almost all of them were like struggling with keeping up. And, at a certain point, there's no way it's just me. And like anytime I would talk to the teacher about like how I'm behind and how I'm trying to get caught up, they would just be completely confused as to how I fell behind to begin with. And I'm, dude, just like, I don't know, bro. Maybe you could just like use your fucking brain real quick and realize that maybe trying to learn shit in the middle of a global pandemic probably isn't the easiest thing in the world. Like maybe just reduce your workload just a little bit. Like I don't understand how you have 2 brain cells and you like manage to like be a teacher. Like it doesn't make sense, bro. It doesn't make sense, dude. But I'm not bitter. But again, that teacher was definitely an exception to the rule. And most of my teachers were pretty understanding whenever I would have like a late assignment or I needed to get caught up on anything. Which sort of leads into my next point, which I can't entirely blame school for. But that is that like discipline and staying on top of things was extremely difficult this year. Because it was just so easy to just not do stuff, especially with Zoom classes. Like I'm not even at school, like I'm at home. So there weren't really any huge consequences for turning stuff in late or just not doing it at all. So what would often happen is I would just leave everything, and I mean everything, until like the day before it was due, and then just rush to get everything done. And I mean, sometimes that plan worked, other times not really. But while discipline was definitely a struggle this past year, something that did not help is that I was fully responsible for teaching myself the material. I would say I probably taught myself 90% of everything that I learned this past year. Obviously, teachers provided us with like textbooks and stuff, like the resources necessary to learn the material, but like I wasn't seeing them every day. So, I mean, a lot more responsibility fell on my shoulders because I had to, make sure that I actually knew the material. And I obviously can't blame the teachers for that. Like, again, I wasn't seeing them every day. So they did what they could. But I would say at the end of the day, it ultimately, like, fell on my shoulders. Second time I said that. Ultimately, it was like my responsibility to learn the material. So the problem is that, as I said, discipline was definitely a struggle this past year. So decreased discipline combined with an increased workload and increased responsibility results in me being miserable quite often. Honestly, if I was just more disciplined this past year and didn't procrastinate like nearly as much as I did, the year would have gone so much smoother, dude. But like the thing is that doesn't change the fact that this year, school took so much more time than it normally does. Like this year, I spent so much more time on school than I have in previous years. And that could be because I took more advanced classes, but I don't really think that's the only factor. There were definitely many moments this past year where I was just like, dude, I would appreciate some free time every now and then. Like, there were so many fucking assignments. I'm just like, bro, I gotta sleep every now and then. Like, this past year was like the only time, like, throughout school that I have ever, like, stayed up late in order to, like, get stuff done. Because it was just never an issue in previous years. But, like, staying up late to finish assignments, that almost entirely falls on me because I would just spend like the day procrastinating and then around like 11 p.m. be like, oh, damn, I should probably get started like doing stuff. So there were definitely some issues this past year that were like entirely my fault. Again, procrastination is one of them. That's been like the one that I've been focusing on the most, probably because it had the biggest effect. But there were definitely still some things that were just completely out of my control. And they were just the worst.
For example, Zoom classes.
I have never suffered more than in Zoom classes because they're a fucking waste of time. All right, dude? Listen, one very important thing that I learned about myself this past year is that I can only learn shit in person. On Zoom, the phrase in one ear and out the other has never been more applicable. And honestly, whenever we did have class, like, we would never fucking learn anything because it was expected that we had already learned everything from, like, the things we were assigned. So, basically, in one day, I would have 2 separate school days. I would have the part of my day where I would, attend my classes and just fucking sit and wait for it to be over. And then I would have the part of my day where I would actually do assignments, learn things, and get things done. And I think that's why I had to spend so much time on school this past year, because I would have to go and waste my time for a few hours and then go and actually accomplish things. So I don't think Zoom classes work at all. I think they're a complete waste of time and they shouldn't exist. On top of the fact that, like, come on, dude, you really think that everyone is, like, sitting there listening attentively and, like, participating in class and paying attention? Absolutely not. It is so easy to just turn your camera off and fucking walk away. So Zoom classes are just gross, and that's final. And one of the last things that I wanted to talk about in this video is extracurriculars, specifically musical extracurriculars, because those are the ones that I'm mainly involved in. But also because they were heavily impacted this past year. So the main reason that I participate in musical extracurriculars, or just anything musical, period, is primarily for fun, right? I'll be honest, I don't really understand people who do it for any other reason. Like, I know a good amount of people who, like, do musical things just because, like, they feel like they should, but they don't really enjoy it. And I just, like, I don't get it, because to me, music is supposed to be sick, you know? Like, it's just supposed to be a good time. Like, you can just hang out with, like, your friends and just, like, make music and mess around. It's a good time. It's a good time. It's objectively, it's a good time. That being said, a lot of the fun was taken out of musical extracurriculars this past year. Because a big part of the fun is performing, like going on stage in front of an audience and, doing music, and then and then, hearing applause and, like, feeling cool, right? That, to me, is one of the most enjoyable parts of music, is performing, right? But as you might imagine, during a global pandemic, that maybe isn't the easiest thing. So it just sort of felt like we were learning like shows and songs just because, like, we thought we should, and we would perform them. Like, sometimes there was an audience, sometimes there wasn't, and to be honest, it just felt like a chore. Like, it just feels like all of the fun was just taken out of it, and, like, that really blows, because music is primarily what I enjoy, like, in school. Like, going to school and just like being around your friends like all day and just like messing around and like, learning stuff, I guess. That's cool, right? No complaints from me. But I don't know, dude, just music. I enjoy music, all right? All right. But there's also like meeting new people, just like having a good time with your friends, right? And again, you can just do that like at school normally, but I'm doing a bad job explaining this. Listen, I like music, okay? Like, I would rather learn a song and go perform it rather than take notes from a textbook and then take a test on it. So, to have the performance aspect of music severely damaged this past year, um, it just wasn't fun. It was trash. Uh, and I mean, it probably played a pretty big role in this past year just not being great. Just wasn't good. So, uh, in conclusion, this past year was not the best. In fact, I would honestly describe it as miserable. Quite honestly, kind of feel like I was robbed of my high school experience. Luckily, however, this didn't happen during my senior year of high school. Um, yeah, dude, I feel so bad for people who graduated this past year or even the year before because, like, just the end of high school for them was just, like, stolen. And that sucks. So I really hope that this coming year is normal. If not completely normal, then at least significantly closer to normal because, like, dude, I don't want to do this school year again. Like, it was so trash, dude. But this year wasn't all bad. I don't really know if I can say learn because I already sort of knew what I'm about to talk about. But it was certainly heavily reinforced this past year. And that is the importance of discipline and how procrastination can just kind of like shatter your entire life. That might be a little dramatic, but I'm pretty sure like you get it. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely still not like perfect. I mean, took 3 weeks for me to get this video up, but yeah. So I'm definitely still not like great at not procrastinating, but I've definitely learned like just like stay on top of things, dude. It's really not that difficult. Like chances are you're probably just procrastinating on starting the thing. Like once you've started, you're fine. Like you'll work on the thing, you'll get it done. That's fine. It's just starting it that's the hardest part. Like people say it at the gym all the time, right? They're like, dude, just getting here is the hardest part. And that's very true. And it turns out that it applies to most things. So, yeah, I mean, that is one important thing that I've learned this past year.
So, I initially wanted this video to be short, but at a certain point, I realized that was not going to happen.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was just sort of me venting and like ranting about this horrendous school year that I've had. So, if it was garbage, apologies. But I think I've taken up enough of your time. If you've made it to the end of the video, thanks. I appreciate you. And yeah, I should have another video going up in the next like few days to maybe like a week-ish. And yeah, that is all I had to say. So I'm ending the video now.